Welcome to the Kee To Growth Podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you are in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now. Welcome back to the Kee To Growth Podcast. I am your host, Jen McKee, and today I'm here with Sandy Papavero. For the first time ever, I made sure I could say her name before we started, and I'm proud of myself for that growth. But I'm so excited to talk to Sandy for multiple reasons. We met a few months ago or a few weeks ago at the Rilla conference, and as soon as she told me what she did, besides the fact that it was marketing, but some of the other things that she worked on with mindset, and I was just so intrigued, and I'm like, please come be on my podcast so we can talk about this. So I'm so excited to have Sandy here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Perfect. Thanks so much for having me, Jen. And we had so much fun at that event. And I loved seeing who you are as a brand, you and your husband coming up and your crazy different outfits. And to me, that is what branding really is all about, is what's that standout. Yes, thank you. So my name is Sandy Papavero. I work for CEO Warrior. We're a training and coaching company for the trades. So we were built by the trades for the trades.
Okay. So I always like to start at the beginning, and you are the director of sales and marketing at CEO Warrior. But how did you get into the trades? How did you get into marketing? Like, tell us a little about the beginning.
Well, in my quick life here, my dad and I were flipping houses when I was quite young, but I learned the nuances of how to pull toilets out and fixing, simple HVAC. And I was young, but I learned also what was quality craftsmanship. My father was a perfectionist when it came to the work he did on the houses for the flips. We also built about 8 houses as well. So I was watching how the trades evolved. On the other side of my dad's life, he was a financial, I'd say, advisor for all intent and purpose. And I went to both worlds. So I got my licenses early and I worked on the blue collar, white collar world. And then I fell in love with business and wanted to see, what made the gears spin. Obviously, this is pre social media, pre the broadcast. Everything was handshakes and putting your name on a diner placemat and I went into a company that was under $1 million. We grew to 65 million, and it was all who we were, how we branded ourselves. We were selling a commodity, selling a service. And I just thought, how did we do that? Culture of the company was how did we market our services? And from there, I went to go work for Tony Robbins. So all along, I'm in finance. I'm still doing work with my dad, and I worked for this other company for years, started my own ventures. I had a bakery, and I've always been more of a serial entrepreneur, dabbling in other areas. And what it comes down to is who are you to the industry that you're in? So I went to go work for Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. I was doing business strategy for their clients and sales. Loved every second of it. There I got into the mindset. Can't work for Tony Robbins without it, adapting to his holistic practicing. Got all my certifications in mindset, life coaching, timeline therapy, emotional freedom techniques, transformational coaching, master in neuro-linguistic practicing, and was able to adapt to helping people realize what their true identity was. And that comes in the form of branding as well when you're looking at it as a marketing. And then I went to go work as a consultant for years after leaving Tony. And through that, I had 4 kids all along here, still working in finance. And we also run our own companies. We have funeral homes. So there was a large part of my time that I spent in the operations of the funeral home. That it was crazy. There was a lot going on. I went to go consult for restoration, which brought me to a company that we're derived from, CEO Warrior, which was gold medal. And I've been following them for so long. I loved their marketing. I loved what they representing the trades, helping, give ownership to a mentality of a guy in a truck who had a great skill set.
Yeah.
I came over here and I had spoken to the owner, and away we go. I've been here for over 3 years doing many different things, from mindset to obviously trade shows, sales, marketing, client relationship, business strategy, you name it. We're here to help the trades to improve the quality of their business and their lifestyle.
I love that. So there's so many things that I feel like we can dive into. First of all, I just have to say Tony Robbins was definitely one of my first mentors whenever I started on my entrepreneurial journey. So I think that's really fun. I know
that I feel like he can be kind of controversial, like just in who he is. I think that people kind of feel one way or another about him. And I really don't like follow a lot of his content anymore, but I did always really intrigued by his Unleash the Power Within and the type of like life-changing experience that people got from going to that. Like, why do you think that that was? I mean, we don't have to get too far into him, but I feel like that could also lend into a lot of the things that you teach.
Well, we'll look at this in two ways. One way is that when I think of marketing, I think of propelling certain people. So if I'm going to be a great marketer, there's going to be people that absolutely love me. And on the other side, if my message and branding is really clear, I'm going to propel those other people. We can't be for everyone. We can't sell to everyone. Well, that's Tony. And he looks at it as if you love me, you love me. If you don't like me, then you don't like me.
Yeah.
For I think that definitive line in marketing really comes in because if we're for everyone, we're for no one.
For sure.
What I liked about Tony and the way that he resonated with the people he wanted pull into his world. They're the ones who are seeking life change and having identity shifts. I study childhood trauma. A lot of people that are looking to move forward in business, it's not, they could have the most perfect marketing, the most perfect brand. However, they don't have the belief system that it's truly possible for them because of something that happened during childhood that allows us to keep self-sabotaging are going to come into our full potential. So that's where I liked what he used to do and bringing people back, not in a therapeutic way, but in one of those subconscious beliefs that we have inside of us that we're not releasing, we're not letting go of, that we don't even know exists.
Yeah.
That is not enabling us because we all have the same power. We all have the same capacity for fortune, for whatever that looks like, success, whatever it looks. And if we can't articulate our value because of whatever shield and guard we have up, we're always going to stay in that same space, survival mode instead of thriving.
I love that so much. So I want to just talk about like what mindset is because I think that probably some people maybe have never considered it or considered it as a part of something that they should consider in their business. Especially, I mean, you guys, like you said, you're working with people who were really, really great plumbing or HVAC techs and then started a business. And those are two different skill sets and two different, I mean, that's a completely different job really of what the expectation is. And so what do you mean when you're saying mindset and what are you really working on?
Well, I've got a simplistic level and where we have a neuroscience, our brain has capacity to build upon experiences that we have gone through in our lives. So the shift comes from wiring in your brain. When we've been wired to a certain way, we only know what our environment has taught us and told us, whether it's a school system or parental guidance or whomever was someone who was our caretaker or early as caretakers. I'm wired to believe these thoughts and belief systems. So we create that. Now we're trying to look at let's say a trade owner and their identity is tied to their skill set of someone who is able to fix and has a skill set to repair. Right? Their knowledge base is right there. So to get them to shift into an owner identity where they become the visionary of their company, it takes a shift in their mindset. Also, we've got to help them to understand that it's okay to lose control over what they once knew.
Yeah.
And how do you train people up to that level so that you can become, and I know it's cliche, however, working on your business instead of in your business. And that's difficult for a lot of the men and women that we coach because they've been taught this is how we become successful, hard work. And the effort, there's no looking at it as, well, I can run from a high level and have and delegate other people to control my business for me, but they're used to holding it right here close to their heart that they feel as if they let go, then they're not working hard. Right. Labor intensive labor behind it. And it could be how they were brought up in maybe the first person in their families to ever have crossed that $100,000 mark. So a lot of times we get brought back to the force of average. So I undo a lot of belief systems that have gotten us to the point where they are in order for them to push and forge forward.
That is really impactful. I know that people definitely need that. And I think that that's something that I'm sure a lot of trades owners could also benefit from and all business owners. That's what we run into the most, right? It's like having trouble letting go. And when you can't let go, it's really hard to move forward. So, okay, when you talk about rewiring belief systems for success, how do you think that mindset can impact your marketing strategies as a home service business owner?
Well, we don't identity shifted in the correct fashion. So I believe that when most people, this is a very subconscious level. Only 5% of the thoughts that we have on a daily are on a conscious level. Most of it is what has been told over and over again. And if you really pay attention to the way you think on a daily basis, most of your thoughts are repetitive. So if we are not clear on who we are to the market, what our brand really stands for, we live in a brain fog.
Yeah.
Never able to articulate our value. And that will keep us in this low level marketing where we're using coupons and we're doing things that are not really showcasing who we are to the industry and what call us, right? That's the special sauce. And we're not as in tuned with why you. I ask that question all the time, why you? And if we can't answer, why would you come to us? If you ask me about CEO Warrior and why us, I'll tell you all day long. Our branding is so specific to the people who we serve in this industry, and we're not for everyone. Earlier, before we jumped on here, we were talking about, different ways in order to push pull. And if I am so clear on who my ideal persona is that I am going after, usually it mimics, mirrors, and matches who we are at the core value system. Most business owners are unsure. They don't even know what their mission, vision, and values are.
Yeah.
So therefore, we recruit improperly. We market without it being a theme to whom they represent in the industry.
So if you think, or if you're saying that we attract it like mirror images of ourselves. So when we're looking at that from a business point of view, so does that essentially mean like if you still see yourself, as the poor guy with no money in the truck, then that's who you're going to essentially attract as your customers?
That is so on point, and I love that you picked that up from what I said. 100%, it's who we attract into our world, our lives, our personal relationships, our business relationships. You will mirror exactly what you think you're worthy of receiving.
That's crazy. So how do you get out of that? Because obviously if we're trying to grow a multi-million-dollar company, $10 million company, like we can't attract poor people in the town, and not because we don't like them, but because they don't have the money to pay for the level of service that we're trying to give them. So so what do you do?
Well, I run them through a transformational development. It's generally a 12-week course. However, I can do it much quicker using different modalities. For some of them, might be a single belief change. What it is creating awareness in your body and understanding where we feel that, and then getting past those belief systems. So you and I can have a conversation, Jen, all day long about where you think you are stuck or where unrealized, uncapped potential. However, that's not really the secret. We've got to get it out of the stomach and into your head. That could come from hypnosis or different modalities of what's going to cause a transformation. But again, the first step is always creating the awareness around this is exactly what you're doing. And then finding out on a subconscious level why you're doing it. Why are you wired to win in this way? If we've created wiring throughout our course of our life that we're addicted to a level of disappointment, our subconscious mind will say, well, good, you won, even if you failed. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between positive and negative thought process.
Yeah.
So we've got to get that up to the surface level on understanding, and then we have got to wire differently. And that's just like creating new habits for your brain. It's for how we think. It's done in all different types of modalities. One person is never the same depending on how deep your core thought process is. So it's really about the recognition, the acceptance thereof, and then we can start to begin the shifting and this process it. Another point and an adjunct to that is we begin modeling. So once we bring it up to the surface, we begin something called modeling, and we create almost a manifestation visualization board around someone who's done what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
Just study them and model their behaviors, their habits, their discipline, and their consistency. What are they doing that created this snowball effect for their success? Success always leaves clues, and now we just need to bring up through the system. You said something that was so important, and it was, how can we market our brand if we're still stuck in that low level thinking because maybe we don't feel worthy of making $1 million. So we in that vibration, all the vibration and energy. And now I've got to get them out of that thought process onto someone who's actually doing what they want to do and find out where that gap is as to why they're not there yet. Process.
Yeah, that is super interesting. And you just said something. Sometimes I should take notes, but you said it like success leaves clues, and it's interesting because at the beginning, before we started recording, anybody who comes on the podcast, I always tell them what the point is. Which the point is to see what other people are doing in their marketing and how you can imitate it. And I think that maybe one thing that I think some people run into around marketing is that consuming too much information. So not to say like don't listen to the the podcast because it's here for you as a resource. But I see this often where people maybe they don't feel like they're ready or they need more or they need to hear it again or they need, and some of it could be coming from, like the neural pathways aren't built yet and they're not understanding. And so they're just trying to understand. But I think some of it is also like a form of procrastination or maybe a form of unworthiness of feeling like they're not at the level where they can do this. So is that something that you run into, is like overconsumption of information where it even looks like they're doing the right things, right? Like they're going to the events and they're downloading the thing and they're going to the webinars and they're learning from the coach, but they're still not moving forward.
Yes. I have actually answering for the unparalleled perfectionist. And this is really what you were just speaking of. When I look at what gets people stuck in that I call shelf how overconsume, and then we just put it up on the, oh, I'm going to listen to a podcast later, click. And now you have it to watch later, to do later. And what it is a form of procrastination. It's how our brains are wired to be built into the perfectionism. It's not ready yet. It's not done yet. It's not all the way cooked yet. And we will continuously tell ourselves that story. Comes again an identity shift of someone who, why aren't you, and I see this in our world as well. We'll have coaching clients that are going to this show and this show, but what are you gleaning from all of these different shows? Are you pulling the information and fitting it in, or are you just compartmentalizing it and then I'll go to it later? You thought boxing, focus on what you're trying to achieve, reverse engineer the steps of how you're going to get there, and then put it with pig-headed discipline. That's all. And when we talk about it from a marketing perspective, I look at it as the brain fog. It keeps us productive. So we think we're achieving something, but really we're just spinning in circles and it's spiraling. Content out there, but what is the achievable outcome that we're looking for? Most of us don't have that clarity. And I see it when I train salespeople a lot, is that the owner has an inability to market and to articulate the value of the company. Now we're expecting our service experts, salespeople, even the CSRs, outbounders to go and articulate. We can't sell against anyone else in our field because we don't know what that looks like. What is our brand message? Why us? I'll say that again and again. Why me?
So if somebody was listening to this and like, what are the first steps to figuring out why me? Like, I know you said you have a 12-week program, but we've only got, 35 minutes here. So what are the first steps to figuring that out and getting just a little bit more clarity?
Well, so everyone goes into the way that I look at it is everybody goes into a business for their own reasoning, right? Whether it's time, freedom, unlimited potential, uncapped time off, whatever that looks like. However, that we deal with come to us and they wanted time, freedom, and money, and they have none of the above, right? They traded their job in for something that makes them sleep less at night because they can't pay the bills, and their AR is higher than it was when they were working. They're taking home less money. Haven't done is we haven't looked at the outcome. What is the achievable outcome that you're desiring would be the first thing. And how are we going to get there? There's a roadmap that should be contingent upon what you see yourself in. Are you building a company to scale in revenue, profitability? Are you looking to grow? What's that magic number? Are we looking to exit at some point? Is it built for generational wealth? Outcome first.
Yeah.
We can reverse engineer of how we're going to get there. And that gives us clarity in the moment. And that's the same with our marketing campaign and who we are. Most people are speaking like everyone else, and they use the guise of everybody in their industry or local to set their pricing, to set tonality. And what we're not doing is we're being disingenuous and we're not being authentic to us. Think about, why did you go into business? Tell the story. You're a marketing expert, Jen. You know that story branding comes first. That storytelling is someone's personal experience that should be brought into every company, every culture.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, people want to know about other people. And the thing is, it's just who are we? Who's this for? And what is the outcome that you will have achieved by working with me?
Yeah. Do you think is this a workaround? Not saying that anyone should work around this, because it's important that is how we, grow and continue to live the wonderful life that we want, is by figuring these things out. But is there a workaround by just hiring a marketing expert, or like, hiring every great marketing company out there, like Wizard of Ads or Kickcharge or all these people that can help pull this stuff out of you? Like, can you still get by without having to do this hard work?
In order for us to be able to have our brand identity, it has to come from in here. You could be amazing at what you do as you are, still by the right line of questioning, a proper consultation, be able to pull out my magic sauce. Ever will I stay straight to the process is my issue. I find that most people in our world are hiring these marketing companies and then very upset with the results.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Then you wouldn't be able to see what the actual big picture of it is. And instead, you'll just kind of get in your own way.
You're an expert in your space. However, you are not the golden grace that's going to make me successful. I have to be able to give you enough that you are in your professional mind can put together a campaign that's going to allow for me to showcase who I am authentically and from my brand voice. It's that you're going to be putting out false information on me. And I'm not talking again about SEO. I'm talking about just the social, the content delivery, the creative behind the scenes. I mean, I'm not crazy about certain people like in the branding industries, and it's because it doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
I just find that a lot of marketing companies are telling people that they can get these results, but they never dig down deep. And SEO, I'm not a Google fan. It ran marketing as my voice contributed through the reality of the life that I'm living and showcasing. I would rather watch people all day long in their natural habitat than show up in the rank.
Yeah. So what do you think about one of my, and obviously maybe based on this conversation, you can tell that I enjoy this kind of like analyzation into myself and the world. And so I love to use ChatGPT to analyze things for me. And literally like anything it can analyze for me, I'm like, please do it. And I'm talking like my conversations with people, like my conversations in this meeting, my conversations in this sales call, my conversation in this training that I did, the way that I wrote this, like, take this out, tell me what you see that I don't see. Like, how do you think that that is a viable resource? Or, and from your experience, and we're talking in April of 2025. And so obviously AI and ChatGPT are going to evolve just depending on when you're listening to this conversation. But do you have any experience with that? And like, I start to notice it starts to mirror me a lot. And I've always been told that, but I don't feel like it gets as like nitty gritty with me as it as a human might be able to do. But also, I don't know how biased it is. Like I've asked it before, how biased are you? Are you just regurgitating things to me that you think I want to hear? Are you using, the web to get any better at it? I don't know. Like, have you had any experience with that?
So I love AI. I think it's a great way for us to be able to, because we're all looking at things from the map of our own territory. Well, that's the way our brains think. We're in our own opinion. If it's more territory, we see things based on our life experience. What AI has been constructed as of today, 2025, like you said, April, and it may get even better, is it is built. Give a fresh perspective. But once it understands who you are by the questions that you're asking it, be pillows and purize. That's right. It's not, it becomes a you spitting out based on what you're asking and it starts to understand your tonality, which is why AI was built.
Yeah.
So I still feel that humanization and who we are intrinsically is still the best friend voice.
Yeah, for sure. I just mean like in the way of breaking down some of those walls that you're talking about that people hold. And really, so okay, I'm going to use an example. So I host a personal branding mastermind. I'm about to do another round of it. And it is
I love
really cool to use AI with it because what I found is that people struggle with their personal brand because they don't feel like they know what they're messaging and how they want to show up as a person, as a business. Although I know you're talking about people that struggle with that, it's a little bit easier. Like once you get an idea of like who your customer is and you really start to think about it, you can figure this out. Like you know who buys from you typically, who your best customers are. You can kind of create a persona based on that. But knowing like, so you're building a personal brand, like what is the purpose of this? And like exactly the same. You want to start off with like, why are you doing this? What is the point? Why do you want this visibility? But I did found early on in this first mastermind round that I did is that you help having AI help us like by listening to like getting that transcript and then pulling the things out that the people were saying in the mastermind made it much clearer for them to see what they couldn't see because they were saying it. They just like weren't, they were kind of talking through it. And so having AI be like, okay, well, this person said this and this is, like gave them a little bit of insight. So I think that's really cool. And so maybe, I don't know what all you do when you're helping people work through these things, but I know that like when we journal and when we reflect on things and when we kind of work through them, it's what helps. So it's cool that AI can help us do that now.
Okay, I also feel is that there's two separate things going on here. One is helping you to break down of what we are thinking. so that is the magic potion behind our brain. So I love that you're being able to utilize the AI and companion in the summaries in order to pull and extract that. That's one area that I think is fabulous. I do it with my sales calls as well. So I do, and I look for commonalities. I've also trained on the neuro-linguistic side. So language is everything to me. And I'm looking for keywords that show me reservation, show me paralysis. They show me life stories. They show your inner blocks only because I'm trained in that capacity of linguistics and also human behavior. So I'm almost a human AI when I'm working with a client. What I will say is I use AI a lot, and I use it for the same reasoning you are, because we don't know the magic that's inside of us. Start to speak it, our passion comes out, the reason for it. So you're capturing that and then using it to create a brand messaging for them. However, if I can't, just like good therapy session as a coach, I'm resistant to using that approach because I have got to get it out of your subconscious. Wire for a new thought process, a new belief system. I can't just say, oh, well, here's your branding. If I don't, I won't believe it. I will be true. And just like lottery winners, I'll spend my money because I don't feel worthy. I learned that I was worthy of, a $5 million. So there's two different language, like there's two different ideas behind that. One is, are we just helping people who are looking for their proper branding? And then there's the ones that I know are stuck in their old story and belief systems that they tell themselves.
That's so good. I really love that. And I love that you brought up the lottery winners. And it's completely true that we will continue to live our lives in where we think that we should be. And that's why it's so important for us to train ourselves to believe that we're worthy of everything that it is that we want, because then it'll show up for us and we'll keep it around rather than keep pushing it away.
And let's go to key phrase. You said what we want. Most of us have never put together and ignited that roadmap and that GPS system of getting us to be clear on what we want. So we say things very broad and we don't go deep. So we're, I want to be rich. Well, that's not for us on a subconscious level, but that's not intimate enough. Well, yeah. Everything that we say has to have specificity, because at the results, the universe or whatever guidance you believe in, and I'm just being, again, spiritual,
As broad as you can be.
I don't want to offend anyone. However, if we're not specific and we don't have the specificity around exactly what we're looking for, the universe will give us what it thinks, even if the outcome isn't as desirable. We may have to pay a price for the outcome because we weren't specific about why.
Yeah. So in all of our episodes, we end it with the question of, this is the Kee to Growth podcast. So what is the key to growth?
Mindset. Having an abundant mindset, really understanding what that means, knowing what you want your brand to reflect of the person you're becoming.
I love that. So if people wanted to find you, where should they look? Where should they go if they want more information on you, on CEO Warriors, on mindset training, all of the above?
Awesome. Thank you for that. CEOwarrior.com. You can email me at sandy@ceowarrior.com. There's also an opportunity on our website to book a 30-minute strategy session, and it can be used for mindset strategy. You're going to come away with that with some sort of value, whether it's for you personally and how to grow your business as an owner, or something that you feel that is not working the way that you want it to, whether it's marketing, leadership, operations, anything that's going to move your business forward to where you would like it to be.
Awesome. I personally loved this conversation, and thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen. It was a pleasure.